Momoshiki is stronger than Jura, but Kawaki is stronger than Momoshiki. Ironically, Jura is stronger than Kawaki. And that is at least the title and main topic of this video, which I call the power triangle. But before that, I'm Nim without E. Please help me fix the algorithm by liking this video. Thank you guys. And after reading chapter 25 multiple times, I think I found another clue that you might be able to refute. In other words, I hope this isn't an absolute fact. Let's talk about the power triangle. For those of you who don't know what the power triangle is, it's basically a concept where three characters have a circular relationship of defeating each other, not a linear one. So it's not that A is stronger than B and therefore automatically stronger than C. And if linear power scaling usually represents the strongest being able to defeat all those below it, the power triangle is the opposite. But what is certain is that in a power triangle concept, each has a special advantage that can defeat a certain enemy, but also has a weakness against other enemies. Or to put it in simple terms, it's like the rock, paper, scissors system. Rock beats scissors, scissors beat paper, but paper can beat rock. Even though this is quite ironic, honestly, as a Boruto addict, if it's true that Ikemoto is creating a power triangle concept, this is a very good decision. In other words, power does not fall solely on one character, and it also means that it supports creating a balanced story. More precisely, so that no character is overly powerful. This will make the conflicts more interesting and every battle unpredictable. But I won't ask you to jump to conclusions before I fully finish this, guys. Besides that, for some reason, I think Boruto is in a confusing situation right now. More precisely, what made him have no choice but to make a deal with a demon like Momoshiki. Because if you pay attention to his decision to face the Ten Tails reincarnation, Boruto seems to want to go his own way, rather than follow Kashin Koji's instructions. Yeah, we know that besides guiding everyone's future in a better direction, Koji also has the same goal of saving the Earth. And one of those goals is to defeat Jura. But because of differences in priorities and everything else, there are some things that make Boruto want to go his own way, which actually makes the future even more complicated and difficult to control. Moreover, it's highly unlikely that Koji didn't see the possibility of Boruto finding a solution to defeat a monster like Jura, right? So all of this began in the chapter between Kawaki and Boruto with Momoshiki. So there are two problems or clues that will lead to a conclusion at the end. The first is a clue about Boruto offering Kawaki that if he ever loses consciousness because Momoshiki possesses him and goes berserk, then Boruto asks Kawaki to kill him. And for the second, another clue about Boruto asking Momoshiki to help him defeat Jura. If successful, Boruto will give his body to Momoshiki. But what you need to underline is that I'm not going to discuss Boruto giving his body to Momoshiki if he succeeds in defeating Jura. Now, from these 2 points, do you realize that there is a rather interesting concept here? Regardless of the final outcome, at least there is evidence that the battle between Jura and Kawaki indirectly concludes that Jura is stronger, right? And I know that some Kawaki fans are very optimistic that if the battle in chapter 24 continues, Kawaki still has a chance to defeat Jura. There are even some fans who are very optimistic that Kawaki has enormous potential after his limiter is removed. And honestly, I don't have a problem with that. But generally speaking, we can't deny that Jura is still stronger than Kawaki. Now, when it comes to Momoshiki and Jura, I know the majority would side with Jura. In fact, I actually did a poll a few weeks ago. And the final result? Even though most people agreed that Momoshiki is stronger than Jura, the difference wasn't really that significant, which means this not-so-wide gap shows that many still believe Jura's power is something worth taking seriously when facing Momoshiki. I know this is something that can't be concluded too early, but with Boruto's decision to ask Momoshiki to lend him his power, do you still think that Jura is stronger than Momoshiki? Regardless of how Momoshiki responds to Boruto's offer, we don't know if it's just a matter of power being given, where Boruto has full control over Momoshiki's power, or if Momoshiki himself will fight Jura in Borushiki mode. But one thing is certain, between Momoshiki and Boruto, neither of them will shut down their consciousness. I mean, when Momoshiki possesses Boruto, who has used up a lot of chakra, one of Boruto's eyes will fall asleep as a sign of his lost consciousness. Is that right? And when Boruto recovers and his eyes open, Momoshiki's presence makes Boruto unwilling to continue being taken over. Therefore, those who know how to awaken Boruto's consciousness will launch an attack in the form of chakra to restore Boruto's chakra. As for Boruto himself, as his consciousness slowly recovers, he will try his best to make Momoshiki fall asleep or something similar. Because, of course, the last time Boruto forced Momoshiki to sleep was by breaking his horn. So, in conclusion, Boruto and Momoshiki will have one consciousness that is interconnected. In other words, they will be at peace for the time being. So if we go back to the main point, if that is the case, then it is certain that Momoshiki will be able to defeat Jura. With the combined power of Boruto and Momoshiki, it is highly unlikely that Momoshiki will not be able to defeat a monster like Jura. Because once again, the reason Boruto asked for Momoshiki's power is simply because he believes that, as an Otsutsuki entity, fighting Jura shouldn't be a big deal, especially since Momoshiki has the ability to absorb tailed beasts. But here's the real question. Will that same ability work on a tailed beast that has already reincarnated, like Jura? At the very least, that's just how it is. First, we already have a clue that Jura is stronger than Kawaki. And again, this assessment is based on the final result of their fight. As for Momoshiki, he is stronger than Jura because, of course, the combined power of Boruto and Momoshiki has a high probability of defeating Jura. And what I think is the most controversial, do you agree that Kawaki is stronger than Momoshiki? The reason I can conclude this is, first, Kawaki's strength without a limiter, besides he's not Jubi's reincarnation, and Ishiki's karma also needs to be considered. Second, from Boruto's own statement, think about it, guys. Does this make sense? Logically, after the threat was completely destroyed and Boruto was possessed by Momoshiki and went berserk, why did Boruto seem to easily declare that if that happened, he would ask Kawaki to kill him? Can we conclude that Kawaki is stronger than Momoshiki? As I said at the beginning, this is quite controversial, but at least I have a reason as the final conclusion that supports this theory, called the power triangle, to reach the climax. First, why is Momoshiki stronger than Jura? Because Momoshiki is a pure Otsutsuki with thousands of years of experience. Even though Jura is the form of Jubi, he is still newly born and not yet fully mature. In terms of strategy and intelligence, it's impossible for a cunning creature like Momoshiki not to have tactics, and that means he can exploit Jura's weaknesses. And what I think is his absolute strength is his chakra absorption technique. Jura relies on the Jubi's massive power, but Momoshiki can absorb energy and use it against him. Second, why is Jura stronger than Kawaki? Raw energy gap. Even though Kawaki is adaptive, he is still a human hybrid. Jura is the Jubi, a chakra monster with almost unlimited energy capacity. But surely, Chapter 25 is enough proof. Third, why is Kawaki stronger than Momoshiki? Kawaki has karma and a body that is tuned to fight against the power of the Otsutsuki. Yeah, even though this can't be an absolute reason either. But Kawaki's motivation and focus in fighting with a clear goal, protecting Naruto or changing the ninja world, will be a huge trigger for his power. And I think this is important. Body adaptation, Kawaki can immediately adapt to new techniques, which is something that allows him to suppress Momoshiki's power. So even though Momoshiki is a pure Otsutsuki, Kawaki is a human Otsutsuki hybrid evolution, specifically created to fight them. And most importantly, don't forget Amado's role as a scientist who knows a lot about the Otsutsuki. But essentially, all of this is part of a triangle that Boruto created. He asked Kawaki to kill him when Momoshiki possessed him, while Boruto asked Momoshiki to kill Jura as well, which is why Momoshiki is stronger than Jura. And yeah, Jura is stronger than Momoshiki, which is already evident. But what do you guys think? Do you have another theory that could refute the theory I call the power triangle? Let's discuss it in the comments. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe. I'm Nim without the E. See you in the next video. Bye bye, Data Bio.